Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final review video for the 12-13 combined set. This will be reviewing the neutrals in set 13, Dominion of Darkness. Before we begin, I do want to mention that we are close to 100 subscribers, so if you appreciate the videos and the gameplay and the commentary in general, if you want, please don't forget to hit subscribe, and let's get on to the ranking first, and then we'll get on to the first card. As always, here is the 6-point card rating I use from 5 to 0. Do keep in mind, like usual, that this is based on the best deck that it can fit in, so even if the deck is kind of real bad, but it's a card that would be needed for that deck, it still would be like a 3 or 4 rating, and 5 tends to be more like the card is so good it tends to transcend the deck it's specifically for and be used in multiple decks. And I really only say that because there is a few cards in this set that might have kind of a higher rating than you might think, but again, that's only just because you got to think about the deck that it's specifically for the best with. And so yeah, this set is kind of weird. There's really in general not a lot of good cards, but because some of the cards are good for their specific deck, they kind of have a high rating, so just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, let's get on to the first card. Up first is Sahakiel and Israfil. It's a 7-cost 6/6 angel deity follower that has ward, and on fanfare you may summon a follower that costs 6 or less from your hand, and if you do, give it at the start of your end phase, return this card to its owner's hand. It can evolve for 1, and it still retains the ward, and its on-evolve effect says put another follower onto the field into its owner's EX area, and if you put a follower into your EX area, summon and engage it. So straight off the bat, looking at the card name and the art and everything, it's clearly meant for angels. However, it's a little weird in the sense of I get where you can summon Sahakiel off of this card, and then with Sahakiel you're probably meant to also summon Israfil, but otherwise it seems like what is the point of this card, because both Sahakiel and Israfil require an Evo to get more special effects, but you're already having to use an Evo for the turn on Sahakiel and Israfil, so then how are you supposed to evolve the Sahakiel solo or Israfil solo? I'm trying to specify between the individual Sahakiel and Israfil cards and then the Sahakiel and Israfil combo card here, so bear with me if this gets a little verbally confusing. Thinking about it a little more though, I suppose you could play this Sahakiel and Israfil combo card, play the single Sahakiel card, then with the single Sahakiel cards, there's a lot of really confusing utterances in this set, but yeah, if you play the normal single Sahakiel card off of this combo card, then you play Israfil from your hand, and then I suppose you could evolve the Israfil that is summoned and that you evolve, and then I guess the Israfil that you summon off of the solo Sahakiel card would be bounced back to hand. It's very weird and confusing. It feels like it's trying to do one too many things, so bear with me as this seems to not make a whole lot of sense, and I haven't really dabbled with angels too much ever since like set, I think it was like 9 or 10. But if we take a step back for a second, and instead of trying to think of the whole Sahakiel and Israfil with the solo Sahakiel and solo Israfil cards, and we just kind of look at just basic combos, it does seem like this card is mainly meant for Sahakiel, Gabriel, or Dark Angel Olivia, so you can get multiple fanfare effects to trigger. So it'll probably fit in some kind of angel deck in some way, shape, or form, whether it's an Abyss-based angel deck or if you want a more neutral-based angel deck. Either way, it probably will fit in some way. And as far as Abysscraft cards go, it seems like Death's Breath and Ice Shillandre Gilded Autocrat are good options to either res it back in the terms of Death's Breath or just grab back with Ice Shillandre, because it certainly is a high enough cost follower that you could just, tap it, pay 1 to maneuver the Magic Train. And if we think about 6-cost Abysscraft cards, the best options are probably something like Yuzuki Righteous Demon, Medusa, because then you can replay her again off of the Sahakiel and Israfil Evo to tap again and destroy another follower. Undead King, so you could trigger his fanfare twice and get, potentially up to 4 followers back from the cemetery, or Dark Alice, where you could attack with her twice on a turn and make your opponent discard twice on a turn. I would say overall these are pretty fun options, but I don't think any of these are going to be like meta defining in general for the set. But I do want to say that the ultimate rare version of Sahakiel and Israfil looks gorgeous, so 10 out of 10 in the art style department at the very least. Next up is a rather popular card to talk about. You might almost say it fractures the fan base. Haha, but anyways, it's Planetary Fracture. It's an 8-cost spell that says you banish each card on the field in each player's EX area, and then each player banishes the top 10 cards of their deck. This card is really good, and so good in fact that it has preliminarily gotten limited to 1 in English, so don't try to get multiple playsets if you have multiple decks. You just need 1 for whichever deck you throw it in, and it's been limited to 1 mainly because it made the whole Necrocharge playstyle of Abysscraft effectively dead if you ran 3 because you're just banishing so many cards in their deck. I also believe I heard that with Planetary Fracture at 3, Amulet Haven was real strong. I can't remember if it was Amulet Haven exactly, but I want to say it was some variation of a Havencraft deck was really strong in this format as well. So they, were limited to 1 preemptively because in Japan for a little bit, I guess it was set to 3. So yeah, really strong card. If it was still not limited, I would have the rank as 5, but with it being 4, it kind of reduces its power by only being able to run it at 1. Next up is Miriam Mutinous Being. It's a 2-cost 2/2 follower that says during your turn, whenever a follower is put from your field to the cemetery, you deal 1 damage to each enemy leader. It evolves for 2 and it still retains the 1 damage to enemy leader effect, but also on evolve, you can bury another follower to summon a Keen Edge artifact token, which is to the right here. The Keen Edge artifact token is a 5-cost 3/4, although the cost doesn't really matter because you just summon it for free on evolve, and it has rush and drain, so you can heal 3 pretty easily with the drain and rush, and yeah, it seems like a pretty decent artifact in general. I have seen a ghost deck list run her a little bit, but it wasn't like a huge part of the deck. It was effectively like 2 copies of her in the deck with like 1 Evo, so you can just like sacrifice a ghost to get the Keen Edge artifact and heal a little bit. I do wonder if maybe you could fit this into Sanguine in some way, but it seems like that's a little bit of a stretch, so much so that I didn't even like include Sanguine in here just because of the drain. I just thought the healing might be nice for the deck, and I just figured throw in 2 costs as an option because Miriam is a 2-cost follower. But that being said, you might not have a follower to sacrifice for the on evolve effect because you tend to try to have pretty valued cards in 2 costs, so you don't really want to sacrifice them freely. But who knows, just something to think about. I'm not saying that 2 costs will absolutely run this card, but any 2-cost card just makes me kind of think about running it in some way, shape, or form. Next is Grimnir Void Wrought Wind. He's a 3-cost 3/4 that says on Fanfare, you can select an enemy follower on the field, and if there's at least 3 face-up evolve followers in your evolve deck, you deal 5 damage and deal its leader 3 damage. At least in Abysscraft, I really don't see him being used in any certain way. The only thing I could think of off the top of my head, which I'm not even familiar with Dragoncraft to really say much, is something with Ozzy Dahaka with Grimnir, because Ozzy Dahaka flips some evolve followers face up. But yeah, otherwise there's really just not much to say. He doesn't have any applicable attributes for any certain deck in particular, and every Abysscraft deck is relatively slow at flipping up Evo cards and is pretty inconsistent. Some games I'll just flip over like 1, maybe 2. Other games I'm going through like, half or more of my Evo deck, which just makes it so inconsistent for Grimnir to be like super used for any deck in particular. So that's why I just ranked him as 0. Next up is Frostfire. It's a 4-cost spell that says quick. When playing this card, it costs 3 less to play if you have an Archfiend follower on your field, which as of making this video, the only Archfiend follower out right now is Flaming Glass, and you get to select 2 enemy followers on the field, deal the first follower 5 damage, and you get to engage the second selected follower. Based on the R and what I just said about the card, you can probably infer that this is mainly just meant for a Flaming Glass based deck, which is actually a deck that some people do try to cook with, so shout out people who really try hard to make that work. I respect it, and yeah, you'll probably run that in that deck, so that's why I just run as a rank 3 because it fits with the deck well, and especially since Milltail, the lovers, can put Flame and Glass onto the field for free, it could be possible that this actually could be used for a Flaming Glass based Abysscraft deck. So, not gonna lie, we're about halfway through the card list, and pretty much everything from here on out is very mediocre, I think, for anything in general, so I totally get it if you don't want to watch the rest of this video. But up next is Mana Grocer. She's a 4-cost 4/4 that on Fanfare you can draw a card, and she evolves for 1, and on evolve you can select an enemy follower on the field and deal damage equal to the number of cards in hand. The only deck I could think of that she could even remotely fit in is some kind of control-based deck, where you kind of keep a decent hand size, and you just evolve her to deal follower some 1 damage and then rush her into something. But for 4 play points and 1 evo point to evolve her to, you know, deal damage to an enemy follower, it just seems like there's just so many other better cards to use for evos that are probably going to be cheaper and better. So, and there's already so much fighting for space in the evo deck for control decks that I just don't see it panning out that she will win in the argument that you'll run her over any other kind of a more control based deck. So I would say ultimately you can probably skip her for any kind of deck you plan on building, unless you're making, maybe the best case scenario I can think of is like some kind of merchant based deck, since she is a merchant attribute card and there's a lot of merchant cards out right now. But otherwise that's a very niche thing that I think pretty much everybody will just kind of ignore. Next up is Goddess of Rebirth. It's a 10 cost 7/7 that has ward, and on Fanfare you do get 7 life, which is nice, and then it has a quick / activate ability for 4 play points. If you discard it from your hand, kind of like a hand trap, you can select an enemy follower on the field and destroy it. The best I could think of is Control, because it's kind of like an execution but only for followers, but it could be a big body for defense later on if you need to. The only other thing I want to mention is this card is probably going to go into my Big Chungus like Phoenix Roost Glory Finder deck, just because it has a good, you know, from hand effect, and it gives good life heal and gives ward, and so yeah, it's just really solid for like a big giant Glory Finder base deck. Next up is Dogged Detective. It's a 3 cost 3/4 follower that says when a follower on your field evolves, give it rush, and on Fanfare you can select a follower with evolve in your cemetery and add it back to your hand. I get where it's going as far as you being able to play it, grab a evolve card back, and then you play it and evolve that follower to give her rush, and obviously the evolve follower has rush and any other additional on evolve effects, but for 3 play points that's pretty expensive to be able to grab another evolve follower from your cemetery only to have the play points to play it and do more. Like, otherwise I'd rather almost spend the 3 play points you would use for Dog Detective to use for something else that would just further the game state, instead of just getting a follower that can rush for 3 damage. It just seems very lackluster for the stipulation of having to evolve a follower. So overall I just really don't see her being used for anything special in particular, so you can probably just skip over her this set. Next up is Armored Goblin. It's a 2 cost 2/2 follower that evolves for 1 and has ward, and on evolve it becomes a 3/3, and its on evolve effect says the next time this follower would take damage this turn, it doesn't take any damage, which means you can just let it rush into a follower and it won't die, and you'll at least probably be able to kill something relatively low in cost. I do mention here that it could be used in 2 costs because it is a 2 cost follower. However, I think this would actually be a staple card in a goblin based deck. So that's why, because of that, I am ranking it as a 3. It doesn't have any effect that's like super out of the ordinary, so that's why I'm not ranking it as a 4, but that's where I kind of mentioned in the beginning of the video where it's kind of relative with my ranking system. So if you're building a goblin deck, this is actually probably a pretty good card to put in it. There are starting to be enough goblin cards that I'm actually half debating on just making a fun goblin deck just for the heck of it, just to see what I could best do with it. I'm not expecting it to go anywhere crazy right now, but especially with Queen Goblin from last set and now Armored Goblin from this set, like it seems like it's kind of fleshing out to be like at least cohesive, maybe not strong, but at least like it just functions well, but we'll see. It all kind of depends. Up next is Harpist of the Fall. It's a 3 cost 3/4 follower that has Fanfare and a slight typo in the description here. It says select your deck. I'm pretty sure it's meant to be search your deck for a neutral spell that costs 1, reveal it, add it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. This card is a Fallen Angel attribute card, so it's probably best to use for Fallen Angel deck, and the best 1 cost neutral spells are probably like Fallen Shot, Winged Inversion, Angelic Snipe, Angelic Barrage, or Biofabrication. So it can work in Angels, but it seems like it's just kind of still okay in general. So because it seems like it's a little lackluster compared to just like an average strength Angel card, I just put it as a rank 2, but it might be used as like a 1 or 2 of copy in the deck. So last and certainly least in this situation is Retracing the Past. It's a 1 cost spell that says select a follower on your field and give it last words, give your leader 2 defense and draw a card until the end of this turn. Seems kind of like a weird card to want to commit a card on your field to die. Doesn't seem like something you would want to actually have happen, but I guess if you need a little bit of life and recycle a card in hand, you could play this card. I don't know, man. We're at the end of this set, and this latter half of cards just all seems super lackluster, so I am grasping at straws trying to make this thing work in some way, shape, or form. Ultimately, for Abysscraft at least, I don't see this being played anywhere. It doesn't have like any real solid archetype typing. I mean, it's got Mercenary, but like whatever. Mercenary doesn't really worry about healing or drawing a card, and you'd probably rather use that one play point for way better cards like Soul Conversion or anything else. So I would just say skip this card. And that's it for the Set 13 neutral review. I do apologize if the latter half of this video seemed kind of mediocre and just okay. I am working with the card that I got, so, you know, bear with me. And if you do appreciate these videos or a little bit of the humor and comedy in them, just give it a like and subscribe. Again, I am very close to 100 subscribers, so it would be cool if I could hit that maybe before the end of the year, but, you know, no big deal if not. You know, it is what it is. So hope you guys enjoyed and have a great day.